The lawyer slid a tablet across his mahogany desk, and I watched my dead grandmother's face come to life on the screen. Her voice was clear, her eyes sharp, her words devastating. She said I'd betrayed her trust, that I didn't deserve her inheritance, that everything should go to the Riverside Community Foundation instead. The video was dated 6 days before she died. I'd been with her that day. She never recorded any video, but the evidence on that screen looked absolutely, impossibly real. I'm Maya, 25, and my grandmother Claire was the most important person in my life. My parents died in a car accident when I was 8, and Grandma Claire raised me from that moment on. She wasn't wealthy by billionaire standards, but she was comfortable, a paid-off house in a nice neighborhood, savings from a lifetime of careful investing, enough to retire at 60 and spend her last 15 years volunteering and traveling and being the best grandmother anyone could ask for. We were close, in a way that went beyond typical family bonds. Every Sunday, we'd have breakfast together at her kitchen table. She'd tell me stories about my mom as a kid, about my grandpa who died before I was born, about her own childhood during harder times. She taught me to cook, to budget, to stand up for myself. When I graduated college with a degree in cybersecurity, she was the proudest person in the room. 2 months ago, she had a stroke. Sudden, massive, no warning. I got the call while I was at work, dropped everything, and drove to the hospital. By the time I arrived, she was already gone. The doctor said it was quick, that she didn't suffer. That was supposed to be a comfort. It wasn't. The funeral was small. Grandma Claire had outlived most of her friends, and our family was small to begin with. Just me, a few distant cousins I barely knew, and some people from the community center where she volunteered. The service was simple, the way she would have wanted. I held it together through the eulogy, through the burial, through the reception afterward. Then I went home to my apartment and cried for 3 days straight. A week after the funeral, I got a call from Thomas Hendricks, the attorney who'd handled Grandma Claire's estate planning. He said we needed to meet to discuss her will, that I should come to his office the following Tuesday. I wasn't worried. Grandma Claire and I had discussed her plans openly. Everything was supposed to come to me, the house, her savings, her small but valuable art collection. She'd told me 100 times that I was her only heir, that she wanted me to have security, to maybe use the house as a rental property for income or sell it and invest the money wisely. I showed up at Hendricks's office on Tuesday morning expecting a straightforward meeting. Sign some papers, begin the probate process, start figuring out what to do with a house full of memories. Instead, Thomas Hendricks looked uncomfortable the moment I walked in. He was mid-50s, graying at the temples, wearing an expensive suit. His office was all dark wood and leather, the kind of place designed to intimidate. He asked me to sit down, his tone careful and measured. He told me there had been a change to the will, a significant change. I asked what he meant. Grandma Claire and I had discussed everything. There shouldn't be any surprises. He pulled out a tablet and turned it toward me. He said that 1 week before her death, my grandmother had recorded a video testament, a legally binding codicil to her original will. He pressed play, and there she was, Grandma Claire, sitting in her living room, wearing her favorite blue cardigan. The lighting was slightly dim, the way it always was in her house in the evening. She looked directly at the camera, her expression serious. She said she'd been thinking a lot about her legacy, about what really mattered, that she'd realized material possessions weren't as important as supporting causes that help the community. She said she'd been disappointed in me recently, that I'd shown a lack of responsibility and character that made her question whether I was ready for an inheritance. My stomach dropped. I'd never disappointed her. We'd never fought. This didn't make sense. She continued, her voice steady and clear. She said she was changing her will to leave everything, the house, the savings, all of it, to the Riverside Community Foundation, an organization dedicated to helping underprivileged families in the area. She said she hoped I'd understand someday that this was what she truly wanted. The video ended. I sat there staring at the blank screen, unable to process what I'd just seen. I told Hendrix this was wrong, that Grandma Claire would never say those things, never cut me out of her will. We were together 6 days before she died, the day that video was supposedly recorded. She never mentioned recording anything. She certainly never expressed disappointment in me. Hendrix looked sympathetic but firm. He said the video was properly witnessed, time-stamped, and legally binding. 2 witnesses had been present during the recording, both staff members at the Community Foundation. They'd signed affidavits confirming that Claire was of sound mind and had made the changes voluntarily. I asked to see the original will. He showed it to me, everything left to me, just as we'd discussed. But this new video, codicil superseded it. Everything now went to the Riverside Community Foundation. I asked who ran the foundation, who would actually receive the inheritance. Hendrix hesitated for just a fraction of a second. Then he said the foundation was managed by a board of directors, himself included. He assured me it was a legitimate charitable organization, that Grandma Claire had been volunteering there for the past year, that this gift would help many families. Something in his tone felt wrong. The hesitation, the way he emphasized legitimate, the fact that he was on the board of the organization that was now inheriting close to $1 million from my grandmother. I asked for a copy of the video. Hendrix said he'd send it to me, but the matter was settled. The will was being probated according to the video testament. I had 30 days to contest it if I chose to, but he advised against it. The video was clear, the witnesses were credible, and fighting it would only cost me money in legal fees. I left his office in a daze, drove home, sat in my apartment, and watched the video he'd emailed me over and over, studied my grandmother's face, her mannerisms, her voice. Everything looked right. Everything sounded right, but everything felt impossibly, horribly wrong. That night, I called my best friend Zoe. She came over with wine and let me vent for 2 hours. I told her about the video, about Hendrix being on the foundation's board, about the feeling that something wasn't right. Zoe asked the obvious question, was it possible Grandma Claire actually changed her mind? That maybe she had been disappointed but hadn't wanted to confront me about it? I told her no, absolutely not. We'd talked the day before she died. She told me she loved me, that she was proud of me, that she was updating her address book and wanted to make sure she had my current email. Nothing about disappointment or changing her will. Zoe suggested I hire a lawyer to contest it, but I didn't have money for a lengthy legal battle, and Hendrix was right on the surface. Everything looked legitimate, so I did what I do best. I started investigating. I work in cybersecurity for a mid-sized tech company. My job is finding vulnerabilities, spotting things that look right but aren't. I decided to treat this like a security breach, assume nothing, verify everything. First, I requested the full probate filing from the county clerk's office. It included the video, the witness statements, and documentation from the Riverside Community Foundation. I studied every page. The foundation had been established 18 months ago. Its stated mission was providing housing assistance and educational resources to low-income families. The board consisted of 5 people, including Thomas Hendrix. The executive director was a woman named Patricia Morse. I looked up Patricia Morse. Her LinkedIn profile said she'd worked in nonprofit management for 15 years, had glowing recommendations, seemed legitimate. But when I dug deeper, I found something interesting. She'd worked at 2 other foundations that had mysteriously received large last-minute bequests from elderly donors. Both times, Thomas Hendrix had been the estate attorney. Both times, the donors had changed their minds shortly before death. That was too coincidental. Next, I analyzed the video itself. I'm not a video forensics expert, but I know enough about digital media to spot obvious manipulations. I downloaded specialized software used for detecting deepfakes, AI-generated videos that superimpose someone's face and voice onto fake content. At first glance, the video looked clean. No obvious glitches, no weird artifacts. But when I slowed it down and examined it frame by frame, I started noticing things. The eye movements were slightly off. Humans have natural micro movements in their eyes, tiny shifts that happen unconsciously. Grandma Claire's eyes in the video moved, but the pattern was too regular, too smooth. It looked real at normal speed, but slowed down, it looked artificial. There were lighting inconsistencies. The shadows on her face didn't quite match the ambient lighting of the room. Again, not obvious unless you were looking for it. But once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. And there was something wrong with the audio. Her voice sounded like her. But when I ran it through an audio analysis program, I found evidence of splicing her words had been assembled from different audio samples, then smoothed together with AI voice synthesis. The video was a deepfake. A very, very good deepfake. But a deepfake nonetheless. Someone had used AI technology to create a fake video of my grandmother, put words in her mouth, and used it to steal my inheritance. I sat in my apartment at 3 in the morning, staring at the analysis results on my laptop, feeling equal parts vindicated and horrified. Someone had literally created a digital puppet of my dead grandmother to commit fraud. But proving it was another matter. I wasn't a certified forensics expert. A judge might not accept my analysis. I needed more evidence. I started investigating Thomas Hendricks. His law practice specialized in estate planning, but he had an unusual number of clients whose last-minute will changes benefited organizations where he held board positions. I found records of 3 other cases similar to mine: elderly clients with no close family, sudden will changes recorded on video shortly before death, inheritances going to foundations Hendricks was connected to. I reached out to the families of those other deceased clients. 2 didn't respond, but one did. A woman named Carol, whose aunt had changed her will 2 years ago, leaving everything to a nonprofit that dissolved 6 months after receiving the inheritance. Carol had always suspected fraud, but couldn't prove it. I told her what I'd found. She sent me copies of her aunt's video testament. I analyzed it the same way, same subtle tells, same evidence of deepfake technology. Someone had created a fake video of her aunt too. We weren't dealing with a one-time thing. This was a systematic fraud operation. Hendricks and his associates were using deepfake technology to create fake video testaments, stealing inheritances from vulnerable families, and funneling the money through fake charitable foundations. I needed help. I contacted a lawyer who specialized in estate fraud, a woman named Jennifer Park who'd been recommended on a legal forum. I explained everything, sent her my analysis, showed her the pattern across multiple cases. Jennifer looked at everything and said I had a strong case, but I needed expert testimony. She connected me with a video forensics specialist named Dr. Marcus Chen. He was expensive, $5,000 for a comprehensive analysis. I didn't have $5,000. But Carol, the woman whose aunt had been defrauded, offered to split the cost. Between the 2 of us, we scraped together the money. Dr. Chen spent 2 weeks analyzing both videos. His report was 30 pages long and devastating. Both videos were definitively deepfakes, created using a specific commercial AI software package. The software left behind digital fingerprints, metadata artifacts that could be traced. Dr. Chen went further. He traced the software purchase to an IP address registered to a company called Riverside Digital Solutions. The company's registered agent? Thomas Hendricks. Hendricks had literally purchased the software used to create the fake videos. Jennifer filed an emergency motion to halt the probate process and submitted Dr. Chen's report as evidence. The judge scheduled an immediate hearing. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. In that time, I gathered every piece of evidence I could find. Jennifer subpoenaed records from Riverside Digital Solutions, from the Riverside Community Foundation, from Hendricks' law practice. She contacted the FBI. This was federal fraud, possibly mail fraud and wire fraud, depending on how the money was being transferred. The morning of the hearing, I walked into the courtroom with Jennifer beside me and a folder full of evidence. Hendricks was there with his own attorney, looking calm and professional. Patricia Morse was there too, representing the foundation. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Morrison, reviewed the evidence before the hearing started. She called Hendricks and his attorney to approach the bench. I couldn't hear what was said, but I watched Hendricks' face go from confident to concerned to pale. When the hearing officially began, Jennifer presented our case methodically. She showed the deepfake analysis, the pattern across multiple cases, the connection between Hendricks and the software company. She called Dr. Chen to testify about the technical aspects of the fraud. Hendricks's attorney tried to argue that the analysis was inconclusive, that video forensics wasn't foolproof, that my grandmother might have genuinely changed her mind. Then Jennifer dropped the final piece of evidence. She'd subpoenaed phone records showing that Hendricks had been in contact with a known deepfake creation service, a company that specialized in creating realistic fake videos for entertainment purposes. The service's terms of use explicitly forbade using their technology for fraud, but they'd created dozens of videos for Hendricks over the past 2 years. The judge didn't even deliberate long. She ruled that the video testament was fraudulent, that the original will should stand, and that the matter should be referred to law enforcement for criminal investigation. Hendricks tried to leave the courtroom quickly after the ruling, but FBI agents were waiting in the hallway. I watched through the courtroom window as they arrested him. Patricia Morse was arrested too, along with 2 other board members of the foundation. The investigation that followed uncovered the full scope of the fraud. Hendricks and his associates had defrauded 11 families over 3 years, stealing over $8 million. They'd targeted elderly people with no close family, people whose deaths wouldn't trigger immediate scrutiny. They'd create fake charitable foundations, use deepfake technology to create video testaments, then dissolve the foundations after a few months and pocket the money. My grandmother had been their latest target. They'd chosen her because she was a widow with no living children, only 1 grandchild, and a reasonable but not suspicious estate. They'd used photos and video from her social media. She'd had a Facebook account where she posted pictures of her volunteer work to train the AI that created her deepfake. The software they'd used was sophisticated but not perfect. It worked because most people don't scrutinize video closely, don't have the technical knowledge to spot the tells. And even if they suspected something, fighting it meant expensive legal battles most families couldn't afford. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd targeted someone with the exact skills needed to catch them. The criminal trial took 8 months. Hendricks, Morse, and 3 others were charged with fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. All of them took plea deals rather than go to trial. Hendricks got 15 years in federal prison. The others got between 5 and 10 years each. The families they defrauded, including Carol and 10 others, were able to recover their inheritances. The fake foundations were dissolved, the money traced and returned. It wasn't a complete recovery. Some of the money had been spent or hidden, but most families got back what was rightfully theirs. I inherited my grandmother's estate as she'd originally intended. The house, the savings, the small art collection. It took almost a year to finalize everything. But eventually, I had what Grandma Claire wanted me to have. I kept the house. Couldn't bear to sell it. I rent it out now. Use the income to support myself while I work on something new, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping families fight estate fraud. I called it the Claire Morrison Foundation, after my grandmother. We provide free legal assistance and forensic analysis to families who suspect their loved ones' wills have been fraudulently altered. Carol works with me. So does Dr. Chen, who donates his time to analyze suspicious videos. Jennifer Park serves on our board and helps coordinate with law enforcement when we find cases of fraud. We've helped 17 families in the past year, caught 3 more fraud rings using similar tactics. The technology is getting better. Deepfakes are getting harder to detect, but so are our methods. Grandma Claire used to tell me that the best way to honor someone's memory is to make the world a little better than you found it. I think about that every time we help a family recover what's rightfully theirs, every time we catch someone using technology to prey on grieving people. The video of my grandmother saying she was disappointed in me still exists in evidence files somewhere. Sometimes I think about it how realistic it looked, how easily I could have believed it if I hadn't known better. How many people see fake videos of their loved ones and accept them as real because questioning it feels like disrespecting the dead? But I also think about the real last conversation I had with Grandma Claire, the day before she died, when she told me she loved me and was proud of me. When she asked for my email address because she was updating her address book, that was real. Her voice, her words, her love, all real. That's what I choose to remember. Not the digital puppet someone created to steal from me, but the real woman who raised me and loved me and wanted me to be taken care of after she was gone. If your loved one's final wishes seem out of character, if a last minute will change doesn't make sense, if something feels wrong even when it looks right, trust that instinct. Question everything. Get expert help. Don't let technology be used to rewrite someone's legacy. The dead can't defend themselves against fraud, but we can defend them. We can make sure their real wishes are honored, not the fake wishes someone puts in their mouth for profit. Grandma Claire taught me to stand up for myself. In the end, standing up for myself meant standing up for her too. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat.